On this episode of Nugget Project, it's all about cooling. Welcome back, friends. So we are nudging forward with this AW11. We are very close to paint prep. I've just got a bunch of the good quality sandpaper and all that sort of stuff. I'm getting some good body filler, and then we're gonna prep the body, ready for paint, which is exciting because once it's painted, we can actually start putting this thing back together. I'm also making an offer on a donor car this Friday. We'll see how that goes. If not, we'll find another one eventually. But before that, I just got myself a new radiator. So this isn't that fancy. Basically, with the AW11s, there isn't a whole ton of options. They don't make the OEM ones anymore, so this is one of the OEM ones, and they're actually pretty good. Like they're metal, they're not plastic end tanks, all that sort of stuff. But this one is completely shagged. All this piping here is completely rusted out on both ends. And yeah, it's very heavy, heavier than it should be, which makes me think it is just clogged full of rust and junk. So I don't think there'd be much. I mean, I could probably take it to a place and get it pulled apart and saved, but we've got this guy. So this guy is from China. There's not a lot of options. As I said, don't make OEM ones. There is a company in the States, Wizard Cooling, that make them. But I think by the time they're landed in Australia with the exchange rate and shipping, you're about $1,000 Australian, which is ridiculous for a street radiator. And I think there might be one other performance brand too, but it was the same deal. It was like $700, $800. I ain't doing that. So pretty much all the dudes just go and get these Chinese replica things. It's fine. It's not the greatest bit of engineering. You know, the welds are all a bit, yeah, but look, all it has to do is hold water, cool the damn car and work, which it will work. So it's pretty much the same. It does have some pretty ghetto things going on though, like one of these taps over here. So it's got, you'll notice it doesn't have a radiator cap because it is a radiator up the front, but the engine and everything is up the back. So the radiator cap's actually at the back of the car near the engine. This one just has pipes going to it, but it does have these little valves here that are bleeder valves to help bleed the air. That one over there was already cross-threaded. So I fixed it and I've got to put the valve back in it, typical Chinese stuff. Also up the top here, it has these little cups that hold where the radiator clamps go on the top. Except this channel here that they've welded on completely gets in the way. So I'm going to have to cut the channel to allow the clamps to sit in there. Cheap Chinese shit, guys. What are you going to do? But anyway, so we've got that. Now, what I want to do today is make a fan shroud for it. So we have these fantastic cooling fans here from our friends at Raceworks. These are MR2 fans. These are the Champions series. They're very awesome fans, very cool fans. Pun intended, terrible. They're reversibles, so basically you've just got a clip on the inside here. You just pop that clip off, spin the fan around, put it back on, clip back on, and then it's reversed. They all bounce from the factory. You've got little counterweights on there and stuff. So they're really good fans, really high quality, obviously waterproof for outside use. Except I did stuff up a little bit. So I'm pretty sure when I measured this all up on the old fan, on the old radiator, I was drunk. And I said, I reckon I can fit two 12-inch fans on this. No way, no how I'm gonna fit two 12-inch fans on this thing. So that's 112. You can already see another one's not gonna fit next to it. I've got two here. I tried to offset them. It's just not gonna work. Good news is these fans are extremely efficient. This is a big bastard too, so I'm just gonna run the one fan, and I'm more than happy with that. I don't care if you don't agree, because my car. So we're gonna run one fan like that, and then make a shroud to help draw the air through. Now the standard shrouds, that is a standard fan shroud for an AW11. So that usually, it doesn't actually mount up, doesn't mate up with the mounting holes on this aftermarket fan shroud. It's kind of, well, it kind of does. No, you know what, it's not that bad. But it sits basically like that, big steel thing. And then that's a blade off of the fan. How old school is that technology? So our new MR2 new technology is going to be it's going to draw so much more air through than two of these ever did. So I'm more than happy to run one of those. This will do a great job. Cool, so what we have to do, we'll get rid of all this. So I'm glad to upgrade. Like if we're gonna upgrade this, let's upgrade. Let's ditch this old technology. This is from the 1970s, because these are the fans they used on the older cars, the KE series and stuff like that. So be gone, we don't need any of that. So we're gonna make a new fan shroud for this guy. So I've made up a bit of a cardboard template, a CAD template if you will. So I'm gonna make a shroud that fits over there. I've got some 0.8mm steel. Now, yes, most people would make this out of alloy, except I have a big sheet of 0.8mm steel. It's fairly light. Once we've cut the circle out for that and things, it's not gonna be that heavy. And the original ones were steel anyway. And then I'm going to use my bead roller to bead roll some strengthening ribs in it. The other reason I'm using steel as well is because I'm going to make some side panels and I'm going to weld them on. And I'm going to weld some captive nuts on so we can attach our fan. I can't weld alloy yet. That's a job for another day. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Cool, all right, well I've got my Cocoa Pops cardboard template there, so I just made up the basic shape, which is going to fit over, stay there, which is going to fit over our rad there, and then I've got to weld some tabs on and stuff to make that fit. But basically what I need to do first is transfer this shape over to our big sheet of steel, cut that out, clean up that steel, and then I can mark where the fan's going to sit, and we can mark out our bead marks and stuff like that. Also, I'm going to do something a little fancier with this to help with airflow, but we'll talk about that a bit later on. Oh, also, these are the original front hoses. They're probably 40 years old, and they are pretty clapped out. They're full of crap and just cracked and gross. So, got some new ones. Now, these are silicon. A lot of people go, oh, you gotta use rubber, OEM, calm down, calm your thumb. These work fine. So these are silicon hoses I got online. They are pretty much bang on shape-wise, pretty sick. So I'll just move over these little, oh, look at that crap falling out there, gross. So I'll just move over these clamps and these little heat sock things onto those, but they will work great and they were a good price too. So one more piece of the puzzle. I also got a bag of little small, same brand for the fronts. There's all the little hoses that go to like the heater and all that sort of stuff, and there's the whole set of those, and it was like 60 bucks. It was pretty cool. So I've got those as well. So yes, there's that. Sweet as. So this is the big sheet I used for the top of the windscreen. You can see the curve in it that I redid the top of the windscreen with. So I've still got lots left to do this. It's one of the reasons I got such a big sheet. All right, let's kind of line this up. Okie dokie. Radiator shroud. Almost. All right, it's got a bit of surface rust on it, so we'll just knock that off. It's just been sitting in the garage, so get the stripper disc, strip that off, and then we'll mark up where our fan's gonna go and everything. Sorry, I've just had to pop the garage door because I've got 2 deliveries coming today. More parts. Always parts coming. Okay, let's explain what the hell's going on here. So obviously, the center part is where our fan sits. So I've got that center ring there, which I'll be cutting out to allow airflow, obviously. But I'm thinking about running a bead along there just to raise that up and give it a bit of strength. Now these panels here are going to be beaded and raised, which will give it some strength. But these bottom sections, maybe those ones, they're bigger. I'm actually going to cut in some vents, some pressure relief vents. Let me explain why. Okay, fans and radiators 101. So obviously the air is coming in through the front of the car when you're moving. When you're not moving and you're in traffic, we have a fan that pulls air through, simulates that, so the fan sits there. Now, if we don't have a fan shroud on that, which a lot of people don't run them like that, the fan is only drawing air directly through where the fan is sitting. So that little small section there, not the whole radiator, which is not very efficient. So what we do is we build a fan shroud, or that's what OEM guys do. It's basically a cover for the entire thing. So when that fan draws, it sucks air through the entire fan. Now the only downside with that, with what a lot of people do with building fan shrouds, is they just make one big plate, and that works really well when you're sitting, you know, at a stoplight or in traffic. But when air's flowing through this radiator at speed, it then creates a bottleneck. So you've got just a giant plate on the back, and you do have obviously some air going through the fan, but it does create a bit of a bottleneck, and it creates a pressure zone, so it doesn't allow the air to come in. So what we are going to do, and this is what a lot of OEM manufacturers do, especially European manufacturers, because they're smart, is they have pressure relief. So this is our fan shroud here, and these sections here, I'll actually cut out holes. Now we don't want the holes to be open all the time, so I've got some of this. This is some good quality rubber here, some rubber sheet. It's 1.5 mil thick. So we're going to cut some panels here for the air to be able to push through, and then we'll make little flaps here out of this rubber. So as the air comes through the radiator, these flaps will open, allow the air to continue traveling through and allow the radiator to cool properly. But when you're sitting in traffic and that fan starts sucking, it'll create a negative pressure zone in between the fan shroud and the radiator, and these flaps will suck shut and it'll draw air through the radiator. So should work pretty well. As I said, they do this on a lot of BMWs and good European cars. And we're starting to see it in a lot of other brands too. So that's the plan, and it should work pretty well. But first of all, I need to get this next door. I'm going to bead roll all this, make it nice and strong. Then we can put the folds in, which will make it even stronger. And then we can look at cutting out all our holes. Let's go do that. Cool beans, let's give this a go. I'm mildly confident this will work. I'm going to do these ones first because they're more important than the circle. The circle can deal without. Let's see how we go. Once again, as I've mentioned before, this is a biatch to do by yourself. Sometimes you just gotta. Stuffed up. Sheet's just too long to go through here. So I'm gonna have to do this as much as I can, and I'm gonna have to take these off, spin them around, and feed it in the other way. This is gonna be a much lengthier process than I expected. That's okay. I think we time-lapse the rest of this. Cool. Okay, not the most amazing thing, but it's kind of what it should be-ish. Well, it'll work. All right, now I've got to put a fold in both ends. Which way am I going to fold it? This way, I guess. All right. So we'll clamp this down in the folder. We'll just put a fold in both ends and then start cutting holes, and then we're going to work out side panels and all sorts of stuff. Lots to do. Okay, so it kind of fits. So on the bottom's not bad. I do want to grind these tabs back just a little bit, just to clean them up with the flappy disc. And then I just need to trim the top bit here where it sits on the rad, but we're definitely onto something.
I call you up to 15 times a day, and even if I don't know what to say, I'll buy you silver diamond rings, another punk rock furry things, and all the gifts that you could do.
Okay, I spent a bit of time measuring that and measured up where the holes are for those riv nuts. So now we'll drill some holes and we can get this side bolted down. Means I can measure up the rest without it moving. This sweet little countersunk hardware with some aluminium bucket washers. Very cool, we'll use those.
It's not your fault. No, it's not your fault.
Perfect. Which now means I can see where that sits, and that's sitting pretty good. So next step, I just need to trim both sides back just a little bit because it is too big and it is interfering, as you can see, with the hoses. So that's good, we can trim that back and then we can do our side panels. But the first thing I want to do is make these tabs. So I'm basically going to make little tabs that weld off there, equal with that, and then we'll just bolt through there. Okay, so I've got a little tabs there, so they will go there. We'll weld those to the shroud, both sides. So I think what I'll do is I'll get the welder out and I'll just tack them, and then we'll take the shroud off and give it a proper weld. Okay, so I've just measured up for the sides now and I have marked it out on our sheet of steel down here. So we'll cut that out and then bend them to shape and we'll weld them in there. All right, so I've cut and bent those pieces and I've just chopped the little bits out of them. So now I've just got to bend these tabs, slot them in, and then we'll have a look at welding that in. Okay, so I've got this kind of lined up. I've got this piece of metal from my metal bender next door, and I've got this now all trimmed to size and sitting in there pretty good. I don't know, it's all clamped down, so I think I'll just do a few tacks. And then I want to weld the outside really just to make it nice. So I think once I've got it tacked in, I might try and weld these ends and I don't know, just see how it goes. Okay, so I tacked all that in and then proceeded to weld the entire seam all the way along. So it's going to need a bit of a grind to smooth it off, but it should look pretty good. Anyway, time to do the other side now. Sick. All right, bring it back, tap that up, seam sealed the whole thing. We're almost done. Start cutting some holes in it. All right, time to cut a hole. Not looking forward to this part, to be honest. Okay, so the hole is cut and I just used a flappy disc just to clean it up, but it's not bad actually. I've drilled the 4 holes to mount the fan. I do need to weld captive nuts on the back, so that's on the cards. But on the bottom sections here, this is where I want to cut those reliefs. So when we're on the freeway, it can allow air in. So I think I'm going to do some square cuts there, another one there, and do the same. I'm only going to do the bottom because the bottom of the bumper only lines up with this. This is covered up with the plastic bumper, so I don't think there's much point. We just want the reliefs in this section here, and that should be enough. All right, let's give it a go. So there we go, that's the idea. Basically a little rubber flap, and it'll blow open, allow air to come through, and then snap shut when the fan comes on. So what I'll do is, I want to paint all this first. I've got some silver paint, just seal in all the goodness. Then once that's done, I'll get a strip of steel and I'll cut it along the top, and I'll drill through the whole lot, and I'll rivet it with 2 or 3 rivets. And that'll hold it in place, and then yeah, that will work pretty well, I reckon. Okay, it's a couple of days later and I have this primed. I had to work yesterday. Got to pay for this thing somehow. So I've primed the shroud, and now I'm just making up these tiny little brackets because I have cut out my rubber strips. So the little brackets are going to hold on there. Let me get the camera off the tripod and show you what the hell I am talking about. So we've got our holes here for the pressure relief flaps, and I've just cut these out of that 1.5 mil rubber. So you can see here, I've got a couple of holes drilled, and I've got this little plate. So the rubber will fit over there, the plate will fit over the top, and I've obviously got to put some holes in the rubber. Now I'm just going to use these little rivets and just rivet through there. Now I'll hold those flaps in place, and then they can just open up at high speed. Should work well. We might even test it with the old leaf blower and see what happens. Anyway, I've got enough little brackets there, so I'll drill all those out, and then I'll go and paint the whole shroud, do something else while that's drying, and then come back, rivet those in, and should be done. And then we can bolt the fan to it and see what it looks like. Okay, all painted up in an aluminium sparkly whatever. It's a heat-proof thing. It'll work. So that's cool. All right, let's rivet our little pressure release flaps on there, and then we'll bolt it to the radiator, see how it looks. Okay, there we go. So 1 radiator shroud, little pressure release flaps, should work pretty good. There we go, there is our fan shroud. I am pretty freaking stoked with that, it turned out. That is gonna work perfect, and I think it looks pretty sick too. Unfortunately, no one's ever really gonna see it, but yeah, that's cool. All right, so in the next episode, we're now gonna look at the cooling in the back of the car, because obviously this radiator's up the front with the engine and all the rest of the hot stuff is at the back. So in the next episode, we're gonna look at that. And then hopefully, finally, we can get on to painting this thing because I'm very excited to paint it and very excited to show you the color I want to paint it. Anyway, if you haven't subscribed, please do all the click and subscribe stuff. We're gaining viewers, but it's still pretty dismal for the amount of effort I put into this channel. So yeah, look, if you haven't subscribed, I'd love it if you did. Share the love, and yeah, we'll come back to making some more shrouds and fun, coolly stuff.